Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crimson Talon, staring at the display screen before him. 40 years he had served the Empire. 40 years of battles, victories, and hard lessons learned through blood and fire. In all that time, he had never seen wreckage quite like this. 3 patrol vessels floated in pieces across the debris field. Their hulls had been torn apart with surgical precision. Energy burns marked every critical system. Whoever had destroyed these ships knew exactly where to hit them. "Commander, we have identified the attacking vessel," said his young tactical officer. The officer's scales showed the bright green of youth and inexperience. "It is a single human cargo freighter. The ship is called Columbus. Only one life sign aboard." His blood ran cold. A single human. One human had destroyed 3 military vessels. "Show me," commanded. The main screen shifted to display a battered freighter. The ship was old, its hull from years of use. Burn marks covered the outer plating. One engine appeared damaged, venting plasma into the void. It looked barely capable of flight. "That ship destroyed our patrol vessels?" asked. His voice carried disbelief. "Impossible, it is just a cargo hauler." "Do not underestimate it," said quietly. His eyes never left the screen. "Do not underestimate the human piloting it." Pulled up more data. "The human's name is Jake. Records show he was once a military pilot for Earth Defense Fleet. He retired 5 years ago. Now he hauls cargo for civilian companies." Walked closer to the screen. Something about this situation felt wrong, very wrong. Why would a cargo pilot destroy 3 of our ships? "The patrol vessels were flagged as pirates," said Ha from the navigation station. She was older than more careful with her words. "They were deserters from our fleet. They have been raiding shipping lanes for months." "So these were our own criminals," said, "and this human killed them. Why?" The communications officer raised one hand. "Commander, I am receiving the Columbus's cargo manifest. The human was transporting medical supplies, vaccines for a human colony called New Portland." Closed his eyes. He had seen this before. 15 years ago, during the Battle of Station, he had watched human soldiers hold impossible positions. They had been defending civilian transports full of children. The humans had fought like demons, never retreating, never surrendering. They had lost that battle, but they had saved every single child. He had learned something that day. Humans were dangerous when cornered. They became unstoppable when protecting something they loved. "The pirates tried to steal his medicine," said. It was not a question. He already knew the answer. "Yes, Commander," Ha confirmed. "The black box data from the pirate ships shows they attempted to board the Columbus. The human refused. They opened fire. He defended himself." Snorted. 3 military vessels against 1 cargo ship and the human won. How is this possible? "Because he had something to protect," said. "Something worth dying for. That makes humans extremely dangerous." The door to the bridge slid open. Subcommander L entered, his scales dark with ambition and pride. He was a political appointment, the nephew of a council member. He had never seen real combat. He thought war was about glory and honor. "Commander," L said loudly, "I have heard we have found the ship that destroyed 3 vessels. Why have we not destroyed it yet?" Turned slowly. "Because I have not given that order." "But our honor demands it," L insisted. "This human has killed, we must respond." "Those were pirates and criminals," said. "They attacked a medical transport. The human defended himself. That is not murder, that is justice." L's eyes narrowed. "You defend a human over your own species." "I defend the truth," said. His voice carried the weight of 4 decades of command. "And I order you to stand down. We will not engage the human vessel." Looked confused. "Commander, with respect, that human ship destroyed 3 military vessels. If we let it go, we appear weak." Pulled up his personal files. He showed them footage from station. Human soldiers fighting against overwhelming odds. Human parents throwing themselves between their children and enemy fire. Human pilots ramming their fighters into battleships to buy seconds for evacuation ships to escape. "Watch this," commanded. "Watch what humans become when you threaten what they protect." The bridge crew watched in silence. They saw humans wounded, bleeding, dying, but they saw something else too. They saw humans who never stopped fighting, who used their last breath to save one more life, who turned impossible situations into narrow victories through sheer determination. "That human out there," said, pointing at the Columbus on the screen, "is carrying medicine to save lives, probably children's lives. If we attack him, we do not fight a cargo pilot. We fight a human parent protecting his young. We fight a soldier who has already proven he can destroy military vessels with a freighter. We fight someone who will not stop until he succeeds or dies. Then we destroy him before he reaches the colony, El said. We have 47 warships. He has one damaged freighter. The outcome is certain. The outcome is certain, agreed. We would destroy his ship. But how many of our vessels would he take with him? How many of our crew would die? And for what? To stop medicine from reaching sick children. El's scales flushed with anger. You are a coward. The bridge went silent. Officers stared at their stations, afraid to look up. No one spoke to Commander that way. Stepped close to El. I am a survivor. I survived because I learned to recognize threats. I learned to choose my battles. And I learned that humans protecting their families are the most dangerous creatures in this galaxy. He turned back to the screen. The Columbus was beginning to move, limping toward the human colony. We will escort the human to New Portland. We will ensure no other ships interfere, and we will let him deliver his medicine. These are my orders. El's expression twisted with rage. Your orders are cowardice. I will report this to High Command. You may report whatever you wish, said calmly. But while you serve on my ship, you will follow my orders. Do you understand? El said nothing. He turned and left the bridge, his tail lashing behind him. Approached quietly. Commander, do you truly believe one human is such a threat? Pulled up Jake's military record. The human had fought in 17 major battles. He had saved hundreds of lives. He had earned 3 medals of valor, and then he had retired to haul cargo. This human gave up a warrior's life, said. He chose peace. He chose to carry supplies instead of weapons, but now someone has threatened what he protects. So he becomes a warrior again. That is what makes humans so dangerous. They do not want to fight, but when they must, they fight like nothing else in this galaxy. An alarm sounded. Hawk called out, Commander, 6 fighters are launching from Bay 3. Spun around. What? I gave no such order. Subcommander L authorized the launch, said, checking his console. He used his command codes. His heart sank. Recall those fighters immediately. They are not responding, Commander, said. They have switched to combat frequencies. On the screen, 6 fighters raced toward the Columbus. The human ship continued its slow progress, unaware of the approaching threat. Grabbed the communications console. This is Commander to all fighters. Return to the ship immediately. That is a direct order. A voice came back. It was N, the lead pilot. Subcommander L has given us authorization to engage the human, Commander. We are proceeding with the attack. Recall now or face court-martial, shouted. With respect, Commander, N replied. We follow Subcommander L's orders. The human has killed. We will avenge them. This will take only moments. Watched helplessly as the fighters closed the distance. The Columbus sat there, engines barely functioning, seemingly unable to defend itself. A new voice came over the communications. It was calm, almost gentle, the voice of the human. Vessels, this is Jake of the Columbus. I really don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to deliver medicine to sick kids. Please, just let me through. Looked at, Commander, should we send more ships to support the fighters? No, said quietly. We should pray for them. Pray, asked, confused. But they are 6 against 1, trained pilots against a cargo hauler. Pulled up the tactical display. He began counting down. They have 2 minutes, perhaps less. 2 minutes until what? Until they are all dead, said, and checked his weapon systems for the 3rd time. Everything showed green. His 5 wingmen flew in perfect formation beside him. They were the best pilots on the Crimson Talon. Each had over 100 combat missions. Taking down one damaged cargo freighter would be simple. Target locked, announced, flying on N's right. The human ship is barely moving. Its shields are almost gone. This will be easier than training exercises, said from the left position. Why did the commander fear this human so much? N did not answer. He had heard the stories about Commander. The old warrior was cautious, perhaps too cautious. This is why younger officers like Subcommander L were needed. Officers who understood that strength came from action, not hesitation. All fighters prepare to fire on my mark, N commanded. Disable the engines first. Subcommander L wants the human alive for questioning. The Columbus grew larger in his. The human ship looked pathetic. Its hull was scorched. One engine sputtered weakly. Atmosphere leaked from several breaches. How had this wreck destroyed 3 patrol vessels? The pirates must have been even more incompetent than usual. "Weapons charged," reported his targeting officer. "Ready to fire." That calm human voice came over the communications again. "Last chance to turn around, friends. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just need to reach New Portland." En laughed. "The human thinks he can hurt us. His ship can barely fly." "Maybe he has hidden weapons," suggested. "No," En said, checking his scanner. "Only standard defensive guns, nothing that can harm our fighters. He is bluffing." The 6 fighters spread into attack formation. They would come at the Columbus from multiple angles. Even if the human fired back, he could not target all of them at once. This would be over in seconds. "All units weapons free," En ordered. "Fire when ready." The fighters dove toward the Columbus. En's finger hovered over the trigger. Just a few more seconds and this would be finished. Then the human ship moved. It was not the sluggish drift of a damaged vessel. It was fast, precise, and completely unexpected. The Columbus rolled hard to port, its working engine flaring to full power. The move should have been impossible for a cargo freighter. They were too large, too slow. But Jake made it happen. En's first shots missed completely. The energy bolts passed through empty space where the Columbus had been a moment before. He tried to adjust his aim, but the human ship was already changing position again. "He's fast," said surprise in his voice. "How is he moving like that?" "Spread out," En commanded. "Do not let him escape." The fighters scattered, trying to surround the human ship. But the Columbus was not trying to escape. It was doing something else, something strange. Jake had released cargo containers into space. Dozens of them, each the size of a small shuttle. They floated in an expanding cloud around his ship. "What is he doing?" asked. "Creating obstacles," En realized. "Clever but pointless. We can navigate around them." He was wrong. The Columbus suddenly accelerated directly toward Os, one of En's wingmen. Os tried to evade, but the cargo containers were in his way. He had to choose between colliding with the human ship or the floating containers. He chose wrong. Os pulled up sharply, trying to go over the containers, but Jake had calculated the exact angle. The Columbus clipped one of the containers with its cargo arm, sending it spinning directly into Os's flight path. The fighter hit the container at full speed. The impact crumpled the fighter's nose, its shields overloaded. The pilot ejected, but his fighter became a tumbling piece of debris. "Os is down," someone shouted over the communications. "All fighters regroup," En ordered. His confidence was cracking. "Stay together, do not let the human isolate you." But Jake was already moving. His ship dove beneath the plane of battle, spinning as it went. The maneuver brought 2 more fighters into his firing arc. His defensive guns, weak as they were, struck both ships at their most vulnerable points, the sensors. And both cried out as their displays went dark. They were not destroyed, but they were blind. In combat, a blind pilot was a dead pilot. They had to retreat immediately. "3 down," En said, his voice tight with fear now. "How is this possible?" The remaining 3 fighters tried to maintain formation. But the cargo containers were everywhere now, making navigation difficult. And the Columbus kept moving, always moving, using its bulk and momentum like a weapon. En fired again. This time his shots connected, striking the Columbus's rear shields. But the human ship had already turned, using the impact to spin faster. It was like watching a dancer, each movement flowing into the next. "He's using our attacks against us," En realized. "He's making us do the work." Another fighter tried to get behind the Columbus for a clean shot. But Jake triggered his damaged engine, releasing a blast of superheated plasma, and flew directly into it. His shields held, but his sensors overheated. Another pilot rendered useless. "Fall back," En ordered. 4 fighters down or disabled in less than 90 seconds. All remaining units fall back now. But the last fighter, Young, was angry. His brother had been on one of the pirate ships the human destroyed. He wanted revenge. He ignored En's order and charged the Columbus, all weapons firing. Jake did not try to dodge. Instead, he used the Columbus's cargo arms, massive hydraulic limbs designed to move containers. He grabbed one of the floating cargo containers and swung it like a club. The container caught fighter perfectly. The impact sheared off one wing. The fighter spun out of control, its pilot screaming. managed to stabilize, but his ship was crippled. "Retreat," N ordered. "Get out of there." But it was too late. Jake had positioned himself perfectly. He had heard it exactly where he wanted him, between the Columbus and a debris field from the pirate ships. The human ship accelerated, tried to evade, but his damaged fighter would not respond fast enough. The Columbus did not fire weapons. It simply moved forward, using its massive bulk to push the fighter into the debris field. Metal screamed, alarms wailed, his fighter exploded in a ball of fire. N was alone now. 5 fighters destroyed or disabled in under 2 minutes, by a cargo freighter, by a single human pilot. "This is N to Crimson Talon," he said, his voice shaking. "Requesting immediate support. The human is." "He is." The Columbus turned to face him. Its hull was burning. Atmosphere still leaked from multiple breaches. One engine was completely dead now, but it maneuvered like a military vessel, positioning itself between N and any possible escape route. "He is what?" Commander's voice asked over the communication. "He is better than us," N admitted. "I do not know how, I do not understand, but he is better." Jake's voice came through again, still calm, still gentle. But now N heard something else in that voice. Steel, determination, the voice of a man who would not be stopped. "Pilot," Jake said, "you have about 10 seconds to leave. I don't want to kill you, but I will if I have to. These kids need their medicine, nothing else matters." N looked at his weapons display. He still had full ammunition. His fighter was undamaged. By all logic, he should be able to defeat this crippled freighter. But logic had failed today. "I am retreating," N said. He turned his fighter away from the Columbus. "I am returning to the Crimson Talon." He expected the human to shoot him in the back. It would be easy. He was exposed, vulnerable. But Jake did nothing. He simply let N go. As N flew back toward the flagship, he heard the human's final transmission. "Commander, I'm guessing you're in charge of that big ship. I appreciate you trying to stop this fight. I really don't want trouble with the Empire, but I'm going to New Portland now. Those kids are waiting for medicine. Anyone else who wants to try stopping me, go ahead, but think real hard about whether it's worth it." N landed in the Crimson Talon's bay exactly 2 minutes after the fight began. He climbed out of his fighter on shaking legs. His hands trembled. He had been in over 100 battles, but he had never felt fear like this. Sub-Commander L was waiting in the bay. "Where are the others? Why did you return alone?" N looked at him. "The others are dead or crippled. The human destroyed us, just like Commander said he would." L's face went pale. "That is impossible. 6 fighters against 1 cargo ship." "Go look at the battlefield," N said. "See for yourself what one human can do when he is protecting something precious." He walked past L toward the medical bay. He needed his hands to stop shaking. He needed to forget the image of that battered freighter moving like death itself through space. On the bridge, Commander watched the Columbus limp away toward New Portland. The human ship trailed fire and atmosphere. It was barely holding together, but it was still moving, still fighting, still determined to complete its mission. Stared at his tactical display. "I do not understand, Commander. How did the human win?" Pulled up Jake's military records again. "Because we forgot something important. Jake was a soldier, a good one. He knows how to fight. He knows how to use every advantage, no matter how small. And most importantly, he knows why he is fighting." "Why he fights matters?" asked. "It is the only thing that matters," said. "Those fighters attacked for glory, for revenge, for pride. The human fights for children who will die without medicine. One of those motivations makes you unstoppable. The other gets you killed." The bridge fell silent as they watched the Columbus disappear toward the human colony. 5 fighters destroyed, 1 pilot dead, 4 more injured, all in 2 minutes. Commander stood alone in his command chamber, studying the tactical display. The Columbus continued toward New Portland, now 4 hours away at its damaged speed. His fleet of 47 warships surrounded the area, waiting for orders he had not yet given. The door slid open. Sub-Commander L entered without requesting permission. His scales showed dark patterns of anger and shame. "You were right," L said quietly. "I was wrong to send those fighters." Did not turn around. "Is dead. 4 others are wounded. N will have nightmares for months. Was proving me wrong worth that cost." L said nothing for a moment. Then, "What are your orders, Commander? Do we attack with the full fleet? Surely 47 warships can destroy 1 cargo freighter." "Yes," agreed. We could destroy him easily. The question is not can we, the question is should we. He killed our people, El said, but his voice lacked conviction now. He defended himself against criminals who attacked a medical transport, corrected. Then he defended himself against fighters that attacked without cause. Each time he tried to avoid violence. Each time we forced his hand. Pulled up a file on his display. Come here, look at this. El approached. The screen showed information about Jake. Military record, commendations, family details, pointed to one entry. He has a daughter, age 24. She works at the Children's Hospital on New Portland. She is a doctor. So El asked. So the medicine he carries will save children his daughter cares for, perhaps treats personally. He is not just delivering cargo. He is saving lives that matter to his family. Pulled up another file. Images appeared on screen. Children in hospital beds. Small humans, sick, suffering. The records showed a plague outbreak on New Portland. Without the vaccines Jake carried, 287 children would die. Look at them, commanded. Look at what we would be destroying if we kill this human. El stared at the images. His expression changed. Even so different from humans understood the value of young lives. Children were precious. Protecting them was the highest duty. I did not know, El said softly. That is the problem, replied. You saw an enemy, a human who killed. You wanted glory, revenge to prove yourself. You never asked why he fought. You never asked what he protected. The communications panel beeped. His voice came through. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the Columbus. The human wishes to speak with you directly. Activated the link. This is Commander. Jake's face appeared on the screen. The human looked terrible. Blood covered the left side of his face. His breathing came in short gasps. Burns marked his arms and chest. Behind him, smoke filled the Columbus's bridge. Commander, Jake said, I need to tell you something in case I don't make it. Leaned closer to the screen. You are injured. Yeah, Jake agreed. Took some shrapnel when your fighters hit my ship. I've got it under control, though, mostly. He was lying, could see the truth. The human was dying. The damage was too severe. He had perhaps an hour left, maybe less. We have medical facilities on the Crimson Talon, said. Allow us to send a medical team to your ship. Can't do that, Jake said, shaking his head. No offense, but I don't know if I can trust you. Some of your people already tried to kill me twice today. I need to get this medicine to New Portland. That's all that matters. You will die before you arrive, stated. Probably, Jake admitted. But my ship's autopilot can handle the landing. The medicine will get there, that's enough. Felt something unexpected, respect. This human knew he was dying but still focused only on completing his mission. There was no fear in his voice, no anger, just determination. Why, asked, why sacrifice yourself for this? Jake smiled slightly, blood stained his teeth. You got kids, Commander. I have 3 offspring, replied. Then you understand. My daughter works at that hospital. She's been sending me messages about the kids there, telling me their names, showing me their pictures. There's this one little girl, Lily. She's 6 years old. Reminds me of when she was that age. Smart, brave, always smiling even when she's scared. Jake coughed and more blood appeared. Lily's sick, really sick. Without these vaccines, she dies. So do 286 other kids. I can't let that happen. I won't. Your daughter could lose her father, said. As an adult, she's strong. She'll be okay. But Lily's just 6. She deserves a chance to grow up. They all do. Jake's eyes hardened. I've got 4 hours to live, maybe less. 4 hours to make sure those vaccines arrive. Nothing else matters. The transmission ended. Jake had said what he needed to say. El stared at the blank screen. He's going to die for children that are not even his own. He is going to die for his daughter's patients, corrected. For innocents who cannot protect themselves. This is what humans do. This is why they are so dangerous. They will sacrifice everything for others. An alarm sounded on the bridge. Returned to find his crew in chaos. Ha was shouting at her console. Commander, we have incoming ships. 12 vessels, pirates by the look of them. The display showed a ragged fleet approaching. Mixed species, stolen military vessels, and converted freighters bristling with weapons. Scavengers drawn by the distress signals. Intercepted their communications. They are demanding we hand over the Columbus. They say the human ship is easy prey. The pirate leader's face appeared on screen. He was a scales and broken from countless fights. Vessel, we claim salvage rights on that human freighter. Stand aside or we will take it by force. Studied the pirate fleet. 12 ships. His fleet had 47, but many were out of position. If the pirates attacked now, they might reach the Columbus before he could stop them. Negative said, "The human vessel is under our protection. Leave this space immediately." The pirate leader laughed. "Under your protection, a human? Why would they protect a human?" "Because it is the right thing to do," replied. Behind him whispered urgently, "Commander, we cannot fight for a human. High Command will never approve. We will all be court-martialed." "Then we will be court-martialed together," said. He activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Commander. The human vessel Columbus is under our protection. Any ship that attacks it will answer to me personally. Prepare for combat." There was silence on the bridge. Then slowly, officers began responding. "Weapons ready, Commander," reported the gunnery officer. "Shields at maximum," said the defensive coordinator. Ha's voice carried across the bridge. "Commander, I have 3 children at home. If someone was bringing medicine to save them, I would die to make sure they got it. I stand with you." One by one, the other officers voiced their support. Even young and uncertain stood at his station. "I am ready to fight, Commander." Only L remained silent, looked at him. "What about you, Sub-Commander? Will you report me for treason, or will you fight beside us?" L's scales rippled with conflicting emotions. Finally, he spoke. "I sent those fighters to attack the human, died because of my orders. The least I can do is ensure his death meant something. I will fight." The pirate fleet was moving closer. Their leader sent another message. "Last chance, give us the human or face the consequences." Checked his tactical display. The pirates had numbers and aggression, but his fleet had discipline and skill. More importantly, they had purpose. "All ships," commanded, "move to intercept. Protect the Columbus at all costs." The fleet surged forward, 47 warships positioning themselves between the dying human freighter and the pirate raiders. It was an impossible situation. They were defending a human who had killed their own people, protecting medicine meant for an alien colony, risking court-martial and execution for someone they did not even know. But it was also the right thing to do. Jake's voice came over the communications. Weaker now, fatting. "Commander, you don't have to do this. I can handle a few more ships." "No," said firmly. "You have done enough. You have fought alone long enough. Now you have allies. Now you have protection. Focus on reaching your daughter. We will handle the pirates." There was a long pause. Then Jake said, "Thank you. We'll appreciate this. So will those kids." The pirate fleet opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space. The battle had begun. But smiled slightly. He had fought for 40 years, for territory, for resources, for political advantage. But this was the first time he truly believed in what he was fighting for. He was protecting innocents, defending those who could not defend themselves, ensuring medicine reached dying children. This was a battle worth fighting. This was a cause worth dying for. "All ships," commanded, "engage the enemy, for the Columbus, for the children of New Portland, for what is right." The Crimson Talon's weapons blazed to life. Around it, 46 other warships joined the fight. They were defending a human. They were protecting a former enemy. They were choosing compassion over hatred. And somehow, it felt like the most natural thing in the universe. The pirates had expected an easy victory. They found warriors instead, warriors with purpose, warriors defending something sacred. The battle was short and brutal, but when it ended, the path to New Portland lay open, and the Columbus, battered but unbroken, continued toward its destination. 4 hours later, Jake's ship would crash land in the emergency field at New Portland Medical Center. The vaccines would be intact. 287 children would receive treatment. All would survive. Jake would be pulled from the wreckage barely alive, but he would live long enough to see his daughter, long enough to know he had succeeded. And Commander would face court-martial for his actions, but he would do so without regret, because some things matter more than orders, some things matter more than politics. Some things matter more than anything else in the universe. The battle against the pirates lasted 17 minutes. 3 ships took heavy damage. 47 crew members were wounded. But the pirate fleet was destroyed or scattered, and the path to New Portland remained open. Commander watched the Columbus limp through space, now only 2 hours from its destination. The human ship's condition had worsened. Atmosphere leaked from a dozen breaches. The remaining engines sputtered weakly. Jake's life signs grew fainter with each passing minute. "Commander," Ha said quietly, "High Command is requesting immediate communication. Admiral himself." Had expected this. Word would have reached the Council by now. He had orders, protected a human, and lost crew members defending an alien vessel. There would be consequences. "Put him through," said. Admiral's face appeared on the screen. His scales showed the dark red of rage. "Commander, explain yourself. You have engaged pirates to protect a human vessel, a human who killed citizens. Have you lost your mind?" "The human killed criminals who attacked his ship," replied calmly. "He defended medicine meant for dying children. I chose to honor that mission rather than punish justified self-defense." "You had no authority to make that decision," shouted. "You will return to Prime immediately to face court-martial. All ships under your command are to abandon the human and withdraw." "I refuse," said. Silence filled the bridge. Officers stared at their consoles, afraid to look up. Refusing a direct order from an admiral was treason. The penalty was death. "You refuse." His voice was dangerously quiet now. "The human will reach New Portland in 2 hours," explained. "If we abandon him now, other hostile forces may attack. I will not allow children to die because of political convenience. I will face whatever punishment you decree after the medicine is delivered." "You will face execution," stated. "You and every officer who supports this madness." Looked around his bridge. Ha met his eyes and nodded, straightened at his station. Even L stood firm. They knew the consequences. They accepted them. "Then we will face execution together," said. "But those children will live." He ended the transmission before the Admiral could respond. Approached hesitantly. "Commander, we are receiving a private message from Jake. It is coded for your eyes only." Opened the message on his personal console. Jake's face appeared, looking worse than before. Blood covered his chest. His breathing came in wet gasps. Burns and cuts marked every visible part of his body. "Commander," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I heard about your conversation with your admiral. I know what you're risking for me, for these kids. I wanted to say thank you, and I'm sorry." "You have nothing to apologize for," replied, though Jake could not hear him. This was a recording. "I've been thinking," Jake continued, "about what happens after I deliver this medicine. I'll probably die, that's fine, I made my peace with that. But you'll face punishment for helping me. That's not fine, that's not fair." Jake coughed and the camera shook. When he steadied it, his expression had changed, more determined. "I'm recording everything. Every attack, every decision you made. I'm sending copies to Earth Defense Fleet, to the Galactic Council, to every news network I can reach. If the Empire tries to execute you for doing the right thing, the entire galaxy will know. There will be consequences." Jake smiled slightly. "I spent 20 years in the military, Commander. I know how politics works. I know how publicity works. You saved my life. You protected dying children. No government wants to execute heroes when everyone is watching, so I'm making sure everyone watches." The recording ended, sat back surprised. The human was protecting him now. Even while dying, Jake thought about others first. "Commander," Ha called out, "the Columbus is entering New Portland's defensive perimeter. Human patrol ships are moving to escort." Pulled up the tactical display. A dozen human military vessels surrounded Jake's ship. They transmitted thanks to the fleet, acknowledging what had done. But something was wrong. Jake's life signs were dropping rapidly. The stress of combat, the injuries, the hours of struggling to keep his ship flying had taken their toll. He might not survive the landing. "Can we send medical support?" asked. "Our doctors could beam across to his ship." "He would refuse," said. "He does not trust us enough, not after today." "Then he will die before reaching his daughter," Ha said sadly. Watch the Columbus begin its final approach to New Portland. The human ship descended through atmosphere, trailing smoke and fire. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, a dying warrior completing his last mission. The landing was not graceful. Jake's ship hit the emergency field hard, bounced twice, and skidded 300 meters before stopping. Emergency crews raced toward it immediately. "Commander," said, "we are receiving transmissions from the hospital. They have pulled the human from his ship. He is alive but critical. The vaccines are intact." Felt relief wash over him. The mission was complete. The children would live. Jake had succeeded. But at what cost? Over the next 6 hours, more information reached the Crimson Talon. Jake had been rushed to surgery. His daughter worked on him personally, along with the best human doctors available. The injuries were severe. Internal bleeding, broken ribs, collapsed lung, severe burns. He had flown for 4 hours with wounds that should have killed him in minutes. Human medicine was advanced. Their doctors were skilled, but even they were not sure Jake would survive. Found himself checking for updates constantly. This human he had never met face to face had affected him deeply. Jake represented something had almost forgotten existed in this violent galaxy. Pure, selfless courage, protecting others without thought of personal cost. "Commander," Elle said, approaching quietly, "I have been reviewing the recordings Jake sent out. They are spreading across the galaxy. Everyone is seeing what happened here." And asked, "Public opinion is shifting. Humans are calling you a hero. Other species are questioning the Empire's aggression toward humanity. Our own people are protesting on Prime, demanding your release." Nodded slowly. Jake's plan was working. The human had turned this incident into a political weapon, not against the people, but against their aggressive leadership. "There is more," Elle continued. "The children at New Portland Hospital recorded messages thanking you, all 287 of them. They are being broadcast on every news network." He pulled up one of the recordings. A small human girl appeared on screen. She had dark hair and bright eyes. This was Lily, the 6-year-old Jake had mentioned, the one who reminded him of his daughter. "Thank you, Commander," Lily said, her voice high and sweet. "Mr. Jake said you protected him. You helped him bring the medicine that saved me. You're a hero, just like Mr. Jake. I hope I can meet you someday and say thank you in person." Felt something strange in his chest. Human children thanking him, calling him a hero. He had fought in wars for 40 years. He had won great victories, but no triumph had ever felt like this. "Show the recordings to the crew," ordered. "Let them see why we fought. Let them see what we protected." Over the next hours, the recordings spread through the fleet. Warriors watched human children thank them for saving their lives. Officers who had been uncertain about decisions began to understand. They had not betrayed their species. They had honored the best parts of culture. The ancient codes that said protecting the young was the highest duty. 3 days later, news arrived from New Portland. Jake had survived surgery. His condition was stable. He would live. The bridge erupted in cheers. Even hardened warriors celebrated. Ha wiped tears from her eyes, laughed with relief. Elle smiled for the first time since the battle. "He made it," said. "The stubborn human actually made it." More news followed. All 287 children had received the vaccines. All were recovering. The plague outbreak was contained. Not a single child had died. Allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This is what victory truly looked like. Not destroyed ships or conquered territory. Lives saved. Children protected. Families kept whole. "Commander," Ha said, "we are receiving a transmission from New Portland. Wishes to speak with you." Straightened his uniform. Put her through. A young human woman appeared on screen. She had her father's eyes, determined and kind. She wore medical clothing stained with blood. Her own father's blood, realized. "Commander," said, "I wanted to thank you personally. You saved my father's life. You protected those children. You risked everything for people you didn't even know." "Your father would have succeeded without us," replied. "No," said firmly. "The pirates would have killed him. Your protection gave him the time he needed. You gave those children their lives back." She paused, emotion crossing her face. "My father told me what you did, how you stood up to your own commanders, how your crew fought beside you. He wants to meet you." "Is he well enough for that?" asked. "He's stubborn," said with a slight smile. "He insists. He says he owes you a conversation at least." "He owes me nothing," said, "but I would be honored to speak with him." The screen shifted. Jake appeared lying in a hospital bed, tubes and wires connected to his body. His chest was wrapped in bandages, but his eyes were clear and alert. "Commander," Jake said, his voice stronger than expected, "my daughter tells me I owe you my life. That's probably true, so thank you." "You owe me nothing," repeated. "You fought to protect innocents. We simply honored that mission." "You did more than that," Jake said. "You risked your career, your life, your crew's lives for a human you didn't know, for children that aren't your species." He shook his head slightly. "That takes real courage, the kind I respect." "I have a question," said. "How did you destroy those fighters? You were flying a cargo freighter. By all logic, you should have been helpless." Jake laughed, then winced at the pain. Logic's great, Commander, but it doesn't account for motivation. Those pilots were fighting for orders. I was fighting for my daughter, for kids like Lily. When you have a reason like that, you figure out how to win, even when it seems impossible. They talked for 20 more minutes. Two warriors from different species, learning to see each other as individuals rather than enemies. By the end, felt something he had not expected. Friendship. 6 months had passed since Jake crashed his dying ship into New Portland's emergency field. 6 months since Commander risked everything to protect a human he had never met. The galaxy had changed in that time. Stood in the military court on Prime, waiting for judgment. The charges were severe: disobeying direct orders, protecting an enemy combatant, causing the deaths of personnel. The penalty should have been execution. But the court chamber was not empty. Thousands of citizens packed the viewing galleries. They held signs supporting, they chanted his name. Outside, millions more protested, demanding his release. The recordings Jake had sent out had spread across the entire galaxy. Every species had seen what happened. They had watched choose honor over politics. They had seen him protect dying children. They had heard Lily and the other kids thank him. Public opinion had forced the council's hand. They could not execute a hero when the whole galaxy was watching. Admiral stood at the prosecution table, his scales dark with rage. Commander knowingly violated direct orders. He protected a human who had killed citizens. He cost us ships and crew. The law is clear. He must be punished. The lead judge, an ancient named, studied the evidence carefully. The human Jake killed only pirates and soldiers who attacked him without provocation. Is this correct? Yes, admitted reluctantly, but he still killed our species. In self-defense, noted. As is his right under galactic law, what was his purpose in that region of space? Transporting medical supplies, said. To save children, added. 287 children, all of whom would have died without those supplies. She looked directly at. Tell me, Admiral, do you have children? Hesitated. I have 5 offspring. And if they were dying, if someone risked their life to save them, would you want others to stop that person? To let your children die for political reasons? The Admiral had no answer. Turn 2. Commander, you knew you would face court-martial. You knew you might be executed. Why did you protect the human? Stood straight, meeting her eyes. Because it was right. Because protecting the young is the highest duty of any warrior. Because I have spent 40 years fighting and I wanted to fight for something that mattered. Those children mattered more than politics, more than pride, more than my own life. The crowd in the gallery erupted in cheers. Guards tried to restore order, but the support was overwhelming. Raised her hand for silence. This court finds Commander guilty of disobeying orders. However, we also find that his actions upheld the highest principles of warrior culture, protecting the innocent, honoring those who fight for righteous causes, choosing compassion over cruelty. She paused, letting the words sink in. Commander is hereby stripped of his command of the Crimson Talon. He is sentenced to 1 month suspension without pay, after which he will be reinstated with full honors and promoted to Fleet Commander. This court is adjourned. The gallery exploded with celebration. Citizens cheered and chanted. Outside, the crowds roared their approval. Justice had been served. Stormed out of the courtroom, humiliated, but approached personally. You changed something today, she said quietly. You reminded us what we should be, not conquerors, not aggressors, protectors. That is the true way. Do not forget it, Fleet Commander. 2 weeks later, received an invitation. The children of New Portland wanted to honor him in person. They wanted to say thank you face to face. Took a small ship to the human colony. He brought Ha and with him. El had requested to come as well, seeking to make amends for his earlier mistakes. They landed at New Portland's main spaceport. A crowd waited to greet them. Human officials, medical staff, families, and children, so many children. Stood at the front of the group. Beside her, leaning on a cane but standing strong, was Jake. He looked healthier now. The burns had healed. The wounds had closed, but his eyes still carried that same determination had seen in the recordings. Commander said, stepping forward, "Welcome to New Portland, thank you for coming." Jake extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting, took it carefully. Human hands were so small and fragile compared to claws, but the grip was firm. "Thank you for the invitation," said, "and thank you for saving my career. Those recordings you sent prevented my execution." Jake smiled. Fair trade, you saved my life, I saved your career, now we're even. We will never be even, replied. You taught me something I had forgotten, why warriors exist, not to conquer, not to destroy, to protect. A small voice interrupted them. Mister. Looked down, a tiny human child stood there holding flowers. This was Lily, the 6-year-old from the recordings. She looked healthy now, her eyes bright with life. Hello, Lily, said, kneeling to be at her level. I am glad to see you well. These are for you, Lily said, offering the flowers. Thank you for helping Mr. Jake save us. You're my hero. Accepted the flowers carefully. His claws could have crushed them easily, but he held them as gently as possible. You are very brave, little one. You faced sickness and fear. That makes you a hero, too. Lily hugged him. Her small arms barely reached around his leg, but the gesture was clear. Felt that strange sensation in his chest again. This is what mattered. This child, alive and healthy when she should have died. This is what all his years of service had been leading toward. The ceremony was simple but moving. Each of the 287 children came forward to thank and his crew. Some gave flowers, others drew pictures. A few just wanted to shake his hand or touch his scales. Ha cried openly, stood than had ever seen him. Even El seemed moved, his scales shifting through patterns of emotion. I understand now, El said quietly too. Why you orders, why you risked everything. Seeing these children alive, I understand. After the ceremony, Jake took on a tour of the hospital. They walked through the children's ward where worked. Young patients waved at Jake, calling him by name. He stopped to talk to each one, remembering details about their lives. Tells me you haven't gone back to cargo hauling, said. No, Jake agreed. Too many memories, too much pain. I'm working with the Colony Defense Force now, training pilots, teaching them what I learned. You are teaching them to fight, observed. I'm teaching them to protect, Jake corrected. There's a difference. Fighting is about defeating enemies, protecting is about saving lives. One is about hate, the other is about love. They reached the hospital's memorial wall. Names were carved into the stone. People who had died in the plague outbreak before Jake arrived. 53 names total. 53 people who had not received the vaccines in time. This is why I couldn't fail, Jake said, touching one of the names. Every minute I delayed meant more people died. I had to get through, no matter what. And you did, said. You succeeded against impossible odds. We succeeded, Jake corrected. Without your protection, the pirates would have killed me. Those kids would have died. You are as responsible for saving them as I am. That evening there was a formal dinner. Human officials thanked for improving relations between their species. They announced new joint initiatives, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, military cooperation. The doctrine, one human ambassador explained, has become unofficial policy among ethical military forces. Any vessel transporting medical supplies or humanitarian aid is considered protected. Attacking such vessels is now condemned by most civilized species. Because of one man's courage, another ambassador added. Jake proved that some missions are worth dying for. Commander proved that some causes are worth defying orders for. Together, you changed how the galaxy thinks about honor. 6 months after that, received another message from New Portland. This time it was from Commander, she said in the recording, I wanted you to know about a project we've started. A joint medical research program between humans and sharing knowledge to improve emergency response. Developing better treatments, training doctors from both species. She smiled. My father's stubbornness started a war, then it started a peace. Now it's starting cooperation. Funny how things work out. The program grew quickly. Human and doctors worked together. They learned from each other. They saved lives together. Casualties from border conflicts dropped by 70% over the next year. Not because of new weapons or stronger shields, because soldiers on both sides remembered Jake and Commander. They remembered that some things mattered more than winning battles. Protecting the innocent mattered more. Saving children mattered more. Choosing compassion over cruelty mattered more. 1 year after the incident, returned to New Portland for a special ceremony. They were dedicating a new emergency medical center. It would treat patients from all species. Human doctors would work alongside physicians. The center would stand as a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. The center had a name carved above its entrance, the Medical Center. Jake stood beside at the dedication. Both men were older now. Jake still walked with a slight limp. Scales showed signs of age, but both stood tall and proud. "We should probably stop meeting like this," Jake joked. "People will talk." "Let them talk," replied. "We have given them something good to discuss, something better than war and hatred." Lily ran up to them, now 7 years old and full of energy. "Mr. Jake, Commander, look what I made." She held up a drawing showing a human and a standing together, protecting children. "That's us," she explained proudly. "You're heroes, both of you." Jake knelt down to her level. "We're not heroes, Lily. We just did what needed to be done. Anyone would have done the same." "No," Lily said seriously. "Not everyone would have. That's what makes you heroes. You did it when others wouldn't." Out of the mouths of children, thought, the wisdom of innocence. The ceremony concluded with speeches and celebrations. But afterward, Jake and sat together on a bench outside the medical center, watching the sunset. "Do you ever regret it?" Jake asked. "Fighting for me, almost getting executed." "Never," said immediately. "That was the first time in 40 years I fought for something truly important. Everything before was politics and territory. That day, I protected innocent lives. I have no regrets." "Good," Jake said, "because I've been thinking, the galaxy needs more people like you. More officers who understand that strength isn't about weapons. It's about knowing when to fight and when to protect." "What are you suggesting?" asked. "A training program," Jake explained. "Joint Human Military Academy, teaching young officers from both species, not just tactics and weapons, ethics, judgment, when to fight, when to show mercy, when orders should be followed and when they should be refused." Considered this. That would be revolutionary, our people teaching together, learning from each other. "Yeah," Jake agreed. "Revolutionary, just like you refusing orders to protect a dying cargo pilot, just like me destroying 6 fighters to deliver medicine. Sometimes revolution is the only way forward." They sat in comfortable silence, watching New Portland's sun sink below the horizon. 2 warriors from different worlds, former enemies, now friends. In the medical center behind them, doctors from both species worked together, saving lives. In the streets, human and children played together, learning that different did not mean enemy. And in space above, human and patrol ships flew joint missions, protecting civilian vessels from pirates and raiders. All because one human refused to let children die, and one commander refused to let that human fight alone. Lily approached them again as darkness fell. "Mr. Jake, can I ask you something?" "Sure, kiddo," Jake said. "When I grow up, I want to be like you. Brave and strong, protecting people. How do I do that?" Jake looked then back at Lily. "You want to know the secret? It's simple. When someone needs help, you help them. When someone is in danger, you protect them. When everyone says something is impossible, you try anyway. That's all being a hero really is." "Even when you're scared?" Lily asked. "Especially when you're scared," added. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing what must be done despite fear." Lily nodded seriously. "Okay, I can do that." She ran back to play with other children. Human kids and a few young whose parents had moved to New Portland for the medical program, playing together, learning together, building friendship that would last generations. "That's our legacy," Jake said quietly. "Not the battles, not the medals, that right there. Kids who don't see enemies, just friends." "It is a good legacy," agreed. "Better than anything I could have achieved through conquest." As they walked back to their ships, preparing to leave New Portland, caught up with them. "Before you go," she said, "I wanted you both to know something. I'm pregnant. My partner and I are expecting a baby in 6 months." Jake's face lit up with joy. "That's wonderful." "I wanted to ask you both something," continued. "Would you be willing to be the baby's honorary guardians? Not parents, but protectors, people the child can turn to, people who represent the best of both our species." Felt honored beyond words. "I would be proud to accept." "Me too," Jake said, hugging his daughter. "Though I'm already the grandfather, I get first dibs on spoiling privileges." Deal laughed. "But seriously, Commander, you saved my father. You saved those children. You represent everything I want my child to know about honor and courage. I can't think of anyone better to help guide them." 6 months later, baby was born. A healthy human girl they named Hope, because hope was what Jake had given to New Portland. Hope was what they had given to the galaxy. The story of the commander who warned his troops not to engage the human became legend. It spread across every species, every world. Parents told it to children. Teachers used it in classes. Military academies studied it. And slowly the galaxy changed. Not through war, not through conquest. Through the simple act of one warrior choosing compassion. Through one father refusing to let children die. Through two former enemies becoming friends. Years later, when young Hope asked her grandfather about the scar on his chest, Jake told her the story. About the pirates, about the fighters, about the commander who risked everything to protect someone he didn't even know. Why did he do it? Hope asked. Jake smiled. Because some things matter more than following orders, some things matter more than winning, and the life of even one child matters more than anything else in the universe. Hope grew up hearing that story. She grew up knowing Commander, seeing him as family. She grew up in a galaxy where humans worked together instead of fighting. And when she was old enough, she joined the joint medical program her mother had started. She became a doctor just like. She saved lives just like her grandfather had saved lives. The legacy continued, the peace continued, the friendship continued. All because two warriors from different worlds chose to protect the innocent, chose compassion over conflict, chose hope over hatred. That was the true victory, not the battles won or enemies defeated, but the lives saved, the children protected, the future secured. That was what being a hero really meant.